It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Monday, July 21st, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another week together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, do not follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have a Provi in the media, the Sunday Message Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, it is a wonderful and awesome Monday. We are starting a brand new week. Hope you guys enjoyed your weekend and the Sunday service. Don't forget, we have Q&A Thursday every single week, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, please leave a like and comment to build our community. So I'm just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is The Grain and the Husk. Chaff like faith. Interesting one, right? It was I have to. There's a couple things that I want to talk about the Sunday message, but a little bit later when we get into that second segment. But great message, a little bit different than what I was expected. Some parts for me are a little bit difficult, not because of the actual message itself, but I'll tell you guys a little later when we get into that. So it is Monday. It has been quite a busy weekend. I am just exhausted. And right now, it's not even 10 p.m. It's like what? It's like 15 minutes, 9:45 right now on Sunday night as I'm recording this. But yeah, it's I'm exhausted, like beyond exhausted. I'm just ready to like crash right now. But one of the things that I'm so thankful for, because even last night, I had a friend come over and visit, and they brought me some gummies, like melatonin gummies, just to help me sleep a little bit, a little bit easier. And last night, you know what it is like? Before I used to just take the gummies right before I went to bed, right? But then I was just like, man, but still, I feel like I need to brush my teeth again. So the night before, I would actually take the gummies first, then brush my teeth. And then, you have a wind down time, right? It's not like you just jump into bed and you fall asleep. You got to wind down for a bit. So like I'm just lying on my sofa, and it's weird. Like even right now, I'm really into these like nature, like these YouTube videos, and all it is a stream, a creek, some rocks, and like trees and stuff. And it's just sounds of nature with birds and like water flowing and stuff like that too. And I just listen to that. But man, I don't realize how much time is going by. And I'll say within 20 minutes, I was like crashing. I was like, man, I got to go to sleep. Like those melatonin gummies, they work really well. I was kind of shocked by how well these melatonin gummies are. But today, not going to need them. I am just exhausted beyond exhausted. And what happened? I'm trying to think about what happened on Saturday. Oh, Saturday. We have there's like some newcomers from France, like a couple that came, that's living in Korea for about a year. And they were brought to Wolmyeongdong for the first time. They're not like religious people at all. But they just love nature. They love hiking. They love all these things. And very young couple. They're like 30. And I was able to meet them, and we're trying to fit, one of the big things, especially for myself, and like the message tells us all the time, is we need to discern really well. And for me, is discerning doesn't mean that, it's not about whether, discerning for me isn't they deserve salvation or not. Technically, none of us deserve salvation, right? For me, it's more of, are they ready right now? Like that's kind of the attitude I have when it comes to teaching people the word. Are they ready right now? And that's the thing that I really think about is like, yeah, this is something that I got to think about is, it's not so much we're determining someone's destiny as in, oh my gosh, they don't deserve salvation. No, it's got nothing to do with that. For us, the biggest thing that we think about is more about, is right now really the time for them to listen to the word? Like that's the thing I'm really trying to discern. I spent 2.5 hours talking to this couple, And it was amazing. It was great conversation. Like, think about it. Just talking to anyone for 2.5 hours is not an easy thing. I got there, we're eating lunch together, and then we're just talking from sports to religion to everything. And in the end, after the 2.5 hours, for myself, I was just like, I don't know if they're ready. Like, I don't think they're ready. Because even when we got into the topic of God, like, they love women's work. They think it's beautiful and everything else. But the thing that was really, that kind of like made me realize is like, well, I asked them about God and they're like, oh, they're agnostic. Like, they think there's something there, but not really. They're not really ready for anything. And they're kind of more in the position of like, they wouldn't even be people who'd be like, who'd want to really get like to listen to the word. Like, I totally don't see that at all. So when I look at that, I was like, yeah, they're not really ready. So that's the first thing that I was like, oh, but it was good because it's far better to spend the 2.5 hours talking to these people, discerning them, rather than just jumping into the word and then spending even more time. Because think about this, just one lecture is about an hour, hour and a bit, plus you have to talk to them after or before, meet them again during the week. That 2.5 hours would probably be less than what you would spend with them in the first week just to get them to study the word. You know what I mean? So for me, I was just like, oh, I think it's very, very good for people to really discern and check. Now, even when I'm doing the Bible, I'm doing the Monday Bible study. You know what's kind of cool though, guys? We did another replay on Saturday. And it's so interesting because even to myself, I was thinking to myself is like, how necessary are these Bible studies, like the replays and stuff? Like, someone's got to play the video and then, they got to post it up and stuff like that too. But it was interesting because when I thought to myself is, man, we already did a replay on Thursday. Do we really need to do another replay on Saturday night? And I was like, do I really need to do this? And as I was thinking about that to myself, I did it. It was like a 6 p.m. here on a Saturday night, and I just kind of like played the video for them for newcomers. To my surprise, 2 brand new newcomers came from Russia, and I was just like, whoa. This is a replay, and we have brand newcomers from Russia joining, kind of thing. So I was just like, that's kind of cool. That really is. So the thing that came up that me and this person who brought one of the newcomers is, they found out that, oh, this person has a boyfriend. And they brought their boyfriend to Bible study on Saturday, listened it together, and they both loved it. So here comes the question. So the question comes up is it okay for both of them to join? And the answer is, number one is you can't really stop them. You know what I mean? You can't really stop people from doing Bible study. Like, imagine this and how weird this is. So imagine I brought one person, and then no one knew, but they had a girlfriend, whatever it is. And then they, when I shared my Zoom link with this newcomer, they listened together with the boyfriend, right? Now, here's the thing. How odd would it be if you're like, sorry, your boyfriend can't join? You know what I mean? Doesn't that sound even weirder that you're saying that, oh, this is a Bible study for a church and you don't want someone to join? You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird. And I know that we're always trying to like try to find like people in a more pure situation. However, one of the things I am 100% certain for is, even though things may not look right, even though things may not be like exactly how you want it, no one knows in the future, right? Who knows like how long they'll be together? Maybe they'll break up. Maybe this will happen here, and maybe this person's eventually going to be single, right? So think about it like this too. Imagine you have a newcomer that used to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever it is, like a long time ago, right? And, we have no problems with that. But is it really about the time? Because what if someone just needs the wake-up call from God and then they realize, oh, I shouldn't be in this situation. Then they break up and they focus even more on God. Like, there's one way. Or who knows if inviting this person, this newcomer invites another newcomer who really loves it and invites another newcomer who is the real person God is trying to find out. But if you break that off, then you kind of like lose that chance for God to work even through times where it doesn't look like it's actually going to work. Now, am I going to say that this is the solution for every time? I'm going to say that it depends on the type of situation. It really does, right? And for instance, in this situation, this newcomer no one knew. The newcomer invited their boyfriend, their friend, right? And it's not like you're going to just sit there and tell them, oh, no, you can't do this anymore kind of thing, right? So, it's very, very, very interesting. And I think it's something that we can really think about also. And it's something that we can really, really honestly pray about is, hey, there is an ideal thing that we want. There really, really is, right? There really is an ideal thing that we want 100%, but we have no idea exactly how God is going to work and who God's going to work through. Because if you're thinking really, really ideal, what about Paul? Would Paul be ideal as in someone who was killing Christians? I don't think so. Right? What about Peter? Peter was married. Is that ideal? I don't think, according to us, it's not really that, it's the best scenario, right? So everything that we kind of look at and we kind of see, we have to understand from a much, much better position. And we have to be a lot more open to what is God going to do. Now, it's a little bit different if it's a one-on-one. I understand. And there's going to be special situations because some people can't handle more than one newcomer. And sometimes it's not good for them to be listening together in a one-on-one situation, right? But when it comes to a group Bible study and when you see the direction of how we're moving, like how God is moving, where we're doing even bigger Bible studies. So think about now, we have 34, 35 newcomers that are joining. But I think it's really, really good that we always open up our hearts and our minds and really think about it from a much larger perspective. Okay, so what's the biggest thing that that happened this weekend for me? I finally met Massimo Introvigne. Now, for those of you guys who don't know who he is, he's a sociologist. He's the one that does studies. He's a sociologist on religion, particularly new religious movements or cults. And those of you guys who are listening to this podcast in 2023, I was reading tons of his articles. His research is amazing. And he came to Wollongong, and apparently this is the third time coming. He's seen Sunseam twice, right? Once when he came out, and once when Sunseam was in prison, stuff like that too. So he spent a lot of time with Sunseam also. And he's coming from very, very academic perspective, very scholarly perspective, very respectable. And because it's coming from that type of perspective, the one thing that's so cool is he sees things he sees things in a very different way. And let me give you an example. Sometimes when you talk to just regular people in the world, right? When you talk to regular people in the world, sometimes when we talk about like the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit's position and all these things, sometimes we're kind of like, oh man, this is going to be so weird. But there's something that he said, like everyone's open with him. He's just like, oh yeah, we believe this. Oh, and we believe, that Jesus and Holy Son are not the same, this, and they're separate entities. And, we kind of look at him and he's like, this is what he said. He said, he got in trouble once for saying that, what's a cult? Is like they're going to take one leader and whatever they say is infallible, and that's that's something that everyone needs to follow, this type of thing. And, this person, we're going to have sacred texts that no one else can listen to. This person, everyone listens to whatever he started going off these things, and it just sounds like providence, right? Like everything he was kind of saying. And then in the end, what does he say? He says, oh, but he's like, I'm talking about the Catholic Church. That's how we look at the Pope. And that's how, that we have 1 billion people that follow this Catholic Church, this, and this. And we believe that, he started naming other stuff from the Catholic Church, like, oh, we believe that children will see the Mother of God, which is Mary. And the Catholics believe that. They believe that Jesus died and physically came back to life, right? And 2,000 years, he's still living kind of thing. And this human being is the Son of God and literally God himself. And he said, if you think about that, that's crazy. Like that is not a normal thing to really believe in. And he's like, yeah, think about that. That's not even normal to believe in. So who am I to look at someone else's religion who has these, say, kind of weird doctrines or weird things they believe, when even because he's Catholic, he's like, even what I believe in is weird, right? That if you looked at it from the outside point of view, it's so crazy. He's like, yeah, religion has these things that we believe in. All religion has these crazy things that we believe in. It's very weird to the outside people. And how could you judge anyone else when you're essentially believing in a religion that's kind of crazy to the outside world too? And he's like, that's the perspective he takes. And that's why everyone can be super open with him and just talk about, the Holy Spirit, this. Oh yeah, pre-dawn is this, and this. Like, and one thing that's kind of cool is they're always learning too. Him and his wife are both sociologists, but it's so cool because when we're talking about services and they're like, is this the only service in the week? I said, no, we have a Wednesday service, and we also have like pre-dawn services like every morning from like 5 a.m. We have a pre-dawn service. People come earlier to pray and stuff, and they're like, oh, interesting. And basically I just said straight up but you do know it's very, very Korean Christian culture. They're like, really? I was like, yeah, Korean Christian culture is like that with almost every Christian church in Korea. They all have pre-dawn prayer. It's not a Providence thing. It's a very Korean culture thing, Korean Christian culture thing. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, even my parents' church in Canada, it's a Korean church, and they have pre-dawn. They have a pre-dawn service. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. This is not something exclusive only to Providence. And then they would start going off on other religions that have like a pre-dawn in the morning time, which is supposed to be the quietest and the time that you're able to meet with God. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. But coming from a very scholarly perspective, I thought it was just fascinating. Okay. Now, there was a bunch of different things that I was looking at, but the one that I thought was we had an interview with him later, and I was the one asking him the questions. So we had these pre-selected questions I would ask him, and it's like asking questions on the spot. We didn't even give the questions to him early. And we wanted to ask him questions about, the trial and what did he think about one of the biggest things in both trials in 2008 and 2022. Both of those two trials, the outcome or the verdict was based upon testimony, and it was based upon what you call based on brainwashing. Basically, it's saying that, for those of you guys who don't know, Sunstein is not being tried for like sexual assault, like rape or anything like that. It's quasi rape. And it's very interesting because it's not something that's anywhere else, right? This type of thing. And that's why even Massimo was like, yeah, it's kind of a interesting like charge, which means there is absolute consent. But they're saying that these people, even though they give absolute consent, they're not they're like coerced into it, right? They're brainwashed and they have no other choice but to do and follow whatever he wants, kind of thing, right? And we're like, so he's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. So we're like, so I asked, the question that came up is about brainwash. Like, what do you think about what's the scholarly, like all the development of brainwashing? And he doesn't just talk about, oh, this is the research on brainwashing, and this is what the research says. This is what all the scholars believe about, brainwashing. This is no. He goes deep into the history of it, and I was just like, wow. So he's talking about brainwashing, and he says, oh, by the way, let's go to the very beginning. I was like, all right. He's like, brainwashing is a very, very old idea. It comes from the ancient times, even at the time of the Romans, right? And he's like, why did people think that there was such thing as brainwashing? And he says, originally in the beginning, religions like Christianity, what the people believed was that, like, when you looked at Christianity in the Roman times, the Romans thought that the doctrines of Christianity were so strange that you must be brainwashed to believe it. Because you're not in your right mind if you're going to believe something like that, so, that someone died and came back in the flesh, right? And the Romans would think that Christians had some technique to brainwash. And they were like, the people were a victim of black magic. And it's very interesting. It's like, yeah, it was even back then, they thought that Christians were brainwashed because the doctrine is so crazy that only someone who's brainwashed or who's like a victim of black magic could actually believe in it, right? They believe that Christians had some type of technique. Interestingly, like when you look at the time of the Enlightenment movement, after the Enlightenment movement, of course, people stopped believing in black magic, but the concept of brainwashing remained. Mormonism too. When Mormonism first came out, people said it was so strange. People said that, people thought that there's no way a normal person would believe in this unless they were brainwashed, which means it's the exact same concept of what was like in the Romans' time. And it was same with Nazism, same with communism. People said the same thing everywhere. Brainwashing, interestingly, is a word that is actually quite a relatively newer word, right? It's people said that brainwashing was coined by the CIA, and it was for anti-communism, right? For anti-communists. So way back then, people believe that China and the USSR or the Russians developed brainwashing techniques to make people believe in communism, which means it goes back to the same thing is, how could anyone believe in something so crazy like communism? So what did the CIA say? They said, oh, there's brainwashing, right? Which means that China and Russia developed brainwashing techniques to make people believe in communism. But it's the exact same thing. And it's interesting because later on, when you look at other people that studied like brainwashing, he was talking about these different names. Like one guy's name was Sarga, and he's like, this guy said that what do you call it? This guy said that brainwashing, like say things that happened in the communist time, wasn't new because religions were already brainwashing people, particularly Christianity, right? And then, like it's like just going through it step by step. We're like, what? And he's just sitting there, no script. He's just talking off the top of his head. He's like, Methodists too, and Jesuits in the 50s and 60s. There was someone named Margaret Singer, and what she said was, which is even like, listen, this is crazy. She said it was not all religions use brainwashing, but small cults do. But big religions don't. Only the small cults actually use brainwashing. Do you know what I mean? And it's very, very interesting. So there's actually a religious case law on this, like using brainwashing in the court of law. In 1990, he brings this up. He's like, in 1990, there was an American case law. And basically, it was basically this case law says that brainwashing used for like cults. Like if in a lawsuit or a law in the courts, if anyone uses brainwashing for cults, they say it's just pseudoscience. And it wasn't just America; even the EU courts came to the same conclusion. And then he's like going, 99% of scholars that study cults or new religious movements, they all agree that brainwashing isn't real. It's a pseudoscience. It's weird. It's like it's not something that's normal, right? And of course, all religions try to influence, but there's no such thing as some type of mythological brainwashing. It's proven to be false, right? So, it's very, very interesting. And he basically said that he's not going to talk about the trial because, he's not a lawyer, but he does go into trials as an expert witness. And he says, general speaking, brainwashing, like, he doesn't even accept it as a reason because brainwashing doesn't even exist. It cannot be practiced by providence. Brainwashing cannot be practiced by providence because brainwashing doesn't exist. It just doesn't, right? So it was just, can you imagine that? Like going off the top of your head? I have to go over my notes and stuff like this too, but he was going deep into this stuff. And man, I sat there with him for over an hour as he's just like going over question by question and question. And yeah, like there's so much stuff that he talks about. If you like, he's such a credible source. He's a sociologist. He studies cults and new religious movements, and he is not someone who cares about doctrine. What he cares about is that people have religious freedom and they're not mistreated or unfairly treated. And he's like, yeah, that it's going to happen because all throughout history, always the newest religion or kind of the cult at that time is treated in an unfair way. And he has so many examples. So I just sat there looking at him. I'm just like, man, what a wealth of knowledge in this area that I think that any newcomer who just sat there asking questions, he would just blow their minds away. And of course, he's coming from a very sociological and psychological perspective. But even that was powerful for me. I was like, yeah, I never thought like we're all, when if we were gonna explain about brainwashing, we would try our best to talk it more in maybe in a more spiritual way. You know what I mean? But he was straight out, guns blazing, and just telling us what it is. Like, yeah, this, like, I remember I just gave you one question. Like, I'm just telling you the first question on brainwashing, and he went on for like maybe 15 minutes. And I'm blown away. So, yeah, it's really, and he's like 70 years old, and he came with his wife. And wife is Lithuanian sociologist too, but it was amazing. They had a very good time. And even for me, like, don't you guys have that feeling when like, say in the message, Sunstein talks about, in the new time period, the old is gone, this, and this. And if you have a newcomer coming to that service, you're kind of like nervous, like, oh my gosh, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? When we ask them how was the service, they're like, oh, beautiful service. Oh, the message was everything I thought it would be. Listening to, knowing what type of person Sunstein is, this, and this. Oh, it was great. It was this and that. And they're coming from such a knowledgeable and scholarly level. The things that are said in the message, they don't see it in the same way, in the same light, as a newcomer would just be like, oh, what is this new time period? What do you mean this? What do you mean that? They're very, very knowledgeable, skilled in their knowledge, and they understand it really well. So when I looked at that, I was like, oh, so interesting. So interesting. So even for me, I was just like looking at that, and I was quite, I was not quite. I was super impressed by it. Very, very impressed. And after that, after talking to him, I was very kind of excited too. I was like, wow, like this is someone. We need this interview to come out, and we need like Providence people to listen to this interview. I think you guys are gonna need subtitles though, because he's got a very heavy Italian accent. It's like I like a meatball, is a pasta and a spaghetti. Like, well, not quite like that, but but he's very, very like strong Italian accent. But he's gonna be here for one more day. But it was interesting too, though, because we definitely want to bring him into this history and evangelize him and stuff. And one thing that I saw was he's so academic and scholarly. I think it's very, very difficult for him to feel like the spiritual part of it, like to actually start accepting it as like canon, as something that is truth. Like, I think that would be a very, very difficult part, but quite interesting. And I thought it was something that that everyone should kind of look at also too. But either way, very, very, just very, very happy to meet Massimo. And I thought, man, him and his wife, man, they have such a wealth of knowledge. When we sat at dinner time, basically one after the other, just talking and talking and talking about all the things about religion and cults and this and that. For me, I enjoyed it, but I can already feel like there was, the Sunseam's lawyer was there and trying to testify and stuff like that. But they, that type of stuff wasn't as like something that was so big for them. And I was just in like, it's just awkward for me, just like. They're giving a wealth of information out. The lawyer's trying to testify, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I would say that they're so Western. Like, if you wanted to do a type of testimony, it would have to just come so naturally, instead of like kind of trying to move in, trying to testify about Sunseam and stuff like that too. But I thought it was very, very, very fruitful. And I had a great time. I was super happy to meet him. Hopefully get to meet him again. It'd be great to invite him to other countries too. But he was telling me like, oh yeah, and he's working on like, he's very, very interested in Australia, because there is someone out there, a former member that actually that actually like wrote 2 books and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, I read one of the books already. And he's like, it was a novel. Like it's not is because it's from a novelist, it doesn't have to all be true because it's a novel, like from a novelist, right? So he was just kind of telling me certain things. And I was like, oh, that is so interesting how he sees certain things. It's a much, much different perspective and way that I was thinking about. And oh, there's one thing, guys, that you guys, that everyone should recognize. And it's something that I talked about this in 2023. But he talked about the 3 different types of people that leave a religion, right? And he says, people have to be very, very cautious in Sunsim's case because sociologists have studied for decades something called an apostate, okay? So it's about people who leave religion, and there's 3 categories of people that leave a religion, okay? So first you're going to have the defector, okay? What is a defector? A defector is a person that left a cult or religion, whatever it is, but they believe the religion was good, but they just feel that they were not good enough for it, right? It's almost like a priest who said they were too weak and they were too interested in girls for them to continue to go that way, so they left the cloth, but they'll say nothing bad about it because it's just they feel it was them, right? So that's a defector, someone who leaves, but they have this very, very good feeling about it, right? And then you have the exact opposite of that side is an apostate. And that's the one he's talking about. He says apostates, they leave on bad terms and they decide to devote their life to attack the religion they left to the public. And this is where a lot of these anti-cult groups begin, right? It's an apostate. And he said, but the interesting thing is the 3rd type of person that leaves a religion or a cult is an ordinary leave taker. Right? It's just an ordinary person. And he said 80% of ex-members of any church or religion or cult, whatever it is, they just go on with their life. They don't want to be interviewed by media. They don't want to file complaints. They just move on to a different phase of life. Now, that's 80% of the people that leave, which means apostates are an extremely low percentage of people that leave a cult, right? And the thing that confuses a lot of people is they think that all ex-members are apostates. Meaning, what's an apostate? It's the people that leave on bad terms and decide to devote their life to attacking this religion kind of thing, right? But apostates are a very small percentage of ex-members, but they're the loudest because they devoted their life. And they said, if you really, really want to know what a religion is like, then you should be interviewing tons of people that left, not just those that are loud, right? And this is when you know what the true religion is actually like. But you can't base it on the small majority that is loud. And this kind of reminds me of, it reminds me like in America, like when, like the LGBTQ, very, very small, but very loud. And it feels like everyone is LGBTQ kind of thing, right? Because that small group is so loud. But he says that's the same thing with the apostates. Ex-members are 3 different categories, and the biggest categories are just the ordinary leave takers. And then you have another group, which is like the defectors who have a high opinion about it, and a very, very small percentage are apostates, and they're the ones we hear the most. But it's very, very small, and people get confused because they base their entire view of that cult or that religion, whatever it is, on the apostates, the ones that left on really, really bad terms, right? So very, very interesting stuff. And I was just like, wow, it was great. I really, 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 really enjoyed it, right? Just having that time. And I hope to have more conversations with him in the future too. Either way, I've been going off long enough, but Massimo, great. It was a great time meeting him. I spent hours with him. I'm just exhausted because I was like translating so much. And then even when I'm translating, I can't really eat my lunch much. And then on top of it, after translating, did the interview. And then after interview, I went to go coach volleyball. And then I just got some dinner, and then I'm just I'm like, I'm ready to just break right now. But either way. So yeah, that's kind of my weekend. Great weekend. Hope you guys have enjoyed yours. Before we get into the Sunday Mesh word study, let's move into the first music break of the day.
like I met you for the first time in forever. I never lose this feeling again, never ever. I won't throw away the passion in my heart, and I'll find the love that I had at the start. It's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? Oh, this feeling will never get old, like the first time we've been together. As long as you don't lose this love, that love will last forever. And as much as I know you're the best thing in my life, I will always tell you that I love you every time. It's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? People believing in fantasies but not God, and that's the problem, that's why they say that it's too hard. No matter how blazing your love may be, our meetings and conversations are the same, you see. You can't let this love go to waste, doing the same things day to day, we're at the same place. Let's speak with hope about new things and the things you have done. I want to get closer to you, I want to give you my love. If you do not enjoy this love, it will disappear. When your thoughts are hard changes, he will take away your blessing. Gotta find your form, find your mission, and just find your blessings. Let's just get back to the old days and find out the temptations. I wanna get to know you, I want to show you that I can give you the word in many places, many spaces. I have seen a lot of people come and go. You're gonna make it, do your absolute best to reach the final destination. Yeah, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you.
All right, so let's get into today's Sunday message word study. And what a great message it is. The grain and the husk, chaff like faith. So very interesting, very interesting word. And I would say that, I was translating for Massimo on the Sunday service. And I would say the most difficult thing is some of the concept or the sentences are really long. But since it's so I guess the speaker was a little bit slower today, that if you say a long sentence too slow, you kind of don't understand what it's saying. Like you forget the front part of it. You're like, oh wait, what is this talking about, kind of thing. And it was just very interesting how the concept of like grain and husk and chaff and these types of terms are coming on. And of course, people who do read the Bible, they will know these types of terms, right? And because they know these terms, it makes a lot more sense too. But I like the very beginning part. It's like, it just tells you straight up what's the difference between having grain-like faith and chaff or husk-like faith too, right? So it says, if you think, judge, and make a decision while you're in an unconscious state, right after getting up from sleep, since the decision is made in the superficial state, that too is a husk, is a husk or husk-like way of doing things. And I like how it's very clear, like, oh, do you want to know what husk-like faith is? Is formality and hypocrisy. Formality and hypocrisy is husk-like. So anything a person does without knowing the fundamentals is faith that belongs to the husk, right? So one of the things it did bring up is like, oh, and guess what? People who believe the parables literally without proper knowledge of the Bible, that is also what husk-like faith is. So already from the get-go, you know exactly what it's about. You're like, oh, like this is what it means to have husk-like faith, the chaff, right? The outer shell and not the actual most important core, which is the grain itself, right? And it basically went into doctrine today. It's like, hey, if you believe Jesus' body came back in the flesh, that's husk-like faith. That's a shell. It belongs to the chaff. Those who believe that Jesus' body will come for the second coming have maintained a husk faith, even though they did live a life of faith. And that's quite interesting because they are living a life of faith, but the biggest issue is, what kind of faith is it? So they're already living the life, but the problem is because they believe that the body comes back, the resurrection is in the body, and the spirit is a thing that resurrects. That's what makes it a husk-like faith, because you're going to miss the very thing that you're waiting for, right? And it almost seems unfair, like, oh, you lived the right life of faith, and yet because you didn't believe in a spiritual resurrection instead of physical, you're not going to meet the one that God has sent. Like, that's how big it really is, right? It's really about, like, basically they're telling us straight up is like, it's about the spiritual faith. Right? It's about receiving Jesus right now in spirit through the one that has a body. That is grain-like faith, right? And we have to be the ones that understand, is just like it's a parable used for farming. That is something that's really big for us to understand. It's huge, right? It is. It's that big that we're believing in what we believe in right now. It is that big. And we need to realize is we don't want the faith of the husk or the chaff, which is the outer shell. We want the type of faith that's spiritual. It's the inside. It is the grain. Physical faith is a faith that goes to ruin. And that's why the thing that counts more than all the things that we see in this world, it is all spiritual. It is not physical things at all, right? So we have to lead what type of faith? We have to lead the type of faith where it's a spiritual faith, going for the things that are spiritual, not physical. See, when you look at the difference between husk-like prayer and grain-like prayer. If you pray repeating the same things meaninglessly out of formality, that is a husk prayer. But if you go deeper spiritually and pray with all your heart, that is a grain prayer. And I like it because it starts telling us practically what is the best thing to do, right? So, it does go into dreams and stuff, and there's like all these worthless and ordinary dreams that people hold on to like they're actually like their grain. But one thing I thought was kind of cool is like, but the dreams that you have right before waking up in the pre-dawn, there are more, not saying all of them, there are more internal dreams, grain dreams, than husk dreams. A spiritual dream is a dream of a revelation, is a grain dream. Therefore, it comes true, right? So I thought it was just quite cool. Like, he was giving the example of that someone's mother had a birth dream in which, there's the gigantic sun, and then she hugs the sun and stuff, and it's like, oh, what is the sun symbolize? On the earth, it symbolizes the person sent, but the sun spiritually in the heavens symbolizes God. So she's like telling the mother, like the birth dream of the daughter and stuff, that, hey, you have to be the one that hugs and holds on to God and stuff. And then because that, the daughter is the one with the birth dream. And then they were evangelized to Providence later. Then the daughter brought the mother. Then the daughter brought the father too. Like, it's quite incredible when you think about this also. The daughter brought the mother and the father. And Sunstein was able to, because the daughter brought the father, Sunstein was able to evangelize the father, right? Even though the father was like an atheist or something like that too. So, it's very, very interesting. I thought it was quite cool to listen to those types of things also. Yeah, and there's like dog dreams. In Korean, it's like kekum, I think. And that's kind of like, a dog is kind of like, it's like a very, very negative term, right? And, but in this instance, not talking about like that type of fake dream, but it's saying if you ever dream about, it's a revelation. If you think that if someone is a dog, they're repeating the same filthy act, right? Like a dog returning to its vomit. So it's cool how we can look at this, and Sunsi's basically teaching us how to interpret dreams, right? And the one big thing is, just like parables, is you cannot interpret dreams physically, right? So it's then the message turns into like what the Holy Trinity and Jesus sent Sunsim to begin the new history. And I love the first video because we all know this. It was like the last big Easter event in Korea. It was like 1.5 million people gathered in Yeouido, and it was like, or like the he said these are like the final events when the 2,000-year New Testament history was drawing to an end, right? And basically Jesus led him there, and he even went on stage, which I think is, that in itself is a miracle. Even the picture shows that he was on the stage too, right? And it's basically Jesus basically saying that it's the new history's here. It's time to go, kind of thing. It's time to make this happen. This is going to be the last time that Jesus is going to be working with them. And I thought that was like, wow, that's a powerful thing to hear from Jesus. Like the New Testament's ended. Now it's time for the complete testament, right? And Jesus straight up saying, I've done everything I need to do for them. Now it's time to move forward, kind of thing, right? So in the beginning, when the new history begins, there's dozens of religions that start. And I like the analogy of they're like candidates campaigning during a presidential election. And they're all vying for that one position. But in the end, only the true, right? The one person will take that seat. And no one's going to find out. It's like way, way later, decades later, people come to know who is real by looking at the work that's been done, right? The one that's working with God, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Son, and Jesus. And that's, people are going to eventually know in the end. It's going to take some time, right? That's why we're kind of like these early adapters that are coming very, very early to providence, right? So, I think it's very, very important for us to once again realize about what position that we actually stand in. And I also like, one of the best ways to, I like how Sansim talked about when you look at the religions that failed, like, those dozens that started off when the new history began, the ones that failed were the ones that basically went against Jesus, complained against Jesus, saying Jesus was wrong here, Jesus was wrong there. Like that's where the big problems were. There were a lot of contradictions, criticizing Jesus and all these other different things. And that's why basically they were cut off, and then they're not here anymore. And Sunsi witnessed all these people out there, and all of them were having this literal type of faith, and they're looking at the parables in a very literal way, right? And I thought a very, very great example for us to understand too. And, this is why, in order for people to really be blessed and really move forward, they got to come to the new history. If they really want, they got to learn. And this is like the common theme of in the entire year. We're already on month number 7, or ending month 7 in 10 days. Like July's done in 10 days, guys. And what's going to happen is what? We're going to have to, the thing that Sunsi's talked about for the last 7 months is basically preach. That's our responsibility. People, it's up to them whether they want to accept it or not, but got to preach, right? We got to preach. And it's very telling, like that verse, very powerful verse in Luke 12:56. Hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time? It's a problem. And basically, when you're children, you don't know the time. You need to become an adult. And that's us. We know the time, right? We know what clothes to wear in what season. And we have to be the ones that act on the word. We have to listen to the word, act on it, and we have to bring as many people as we can into this history, right? Like that's the big thing. We've got to we have to be those that do this powerfully and in the best way. So, 2,000 years, we're at the end of the 2,000 years, beginning of the complete testament. We're in the new. Old is gone. 1,000-year history is already started. We're 50 years in, if you think about it. 50 years. When you look at the message, the question came on is, why do they do what Why do they do what was already finished? Before God, such is a faith of ignorance and an act of treason, right? So it's because they haven't received the new word. They only repeat what is the old. They only keep preaching about the old things, right? And, just as the New Testament broke free from the Old Testament times, we're in the exact same position where we're breaking free from the New Testament times so we can move into the complete. We're doing the new work. The old history is already gone. It's over. We have to do today's work, right? Carry out today's history. And that means not a husk-like faith, but a grain-like faith. And we have to be those that basically discard anything that is false, anything that is erroneous. And the only thing that should remain is perfect truth. Those who are like grains, what did we do? We discard the physical rapture, the physical resurrection. And that's all from the former faith. That's the former faith's erroneous falsehood, and we got to throw away that chaff, right? Anything that is not truth is chaff. Anything that is not truth must be thrown away. And if anything, think about this. You have to throw away Satan. Satan is like chaff too. Satan's like chaff. So, now is a time where God is separating. God is throwing away the chaff. The body is the husk. Spirit is the kernel, the full grain. So that's why grow the spirit. Grow the grain. Don't live superficially. Don't live in formality. Don't live like hypocritically. We have to be those that grow the spirit. Truth is the grain. That's why we have to hurry up and teach this truth to the world. When the body dies, what happens? It depends on what you've done with your life, whether you go to heaven or somewhere else. But the only way you're going to do this is if you grow your spirit and live for your spirit, just like growing grains, right? So, we have to be those that take action for our spirits. And, we can't be those that ignore our spirits. We can't be those that only pay attention to our bodies. Right? And the way that it was said in the message is people only look at their bodies are crops that have abundant leaves and stalks, but have very, very underdeveloped fruits. Right? And I like when it talked about timing, when you're farming. Fertilizer, right? Fertilizer is very important, but the timing of it is that big. Because during the season when the stalks and leaves grow vigorously, fertilizer must be given at the time of bearing fruit. Only then do the fruits grow properly. So there's a perfect timing for it. There's a season for all things, right? So that was something that I looked at. I was like, yeah, the timing is so big, right? When to take action, when to receive, when to pour in, like when it's time to study, when it's time to take action, when it's time to prepare, when it's time to move. That second video is just basically talking about people only live for the body, right? Fruits are weak if you only live for the body. God gave the word for what? It wasn't for the body. It was for your spirit. It was for the grain. Live for the spirit, live for the grains. And that's what God really wanted for everyone. Live for the spirit. And you need it following the perfect truth of the times. There's another part I like where Sunstein is like pretty much saying that Providence is not running a business. We're not selling stuff. The main thing we do is spread the gospel exactly according to the word that God and Jesus gave. And that's why we're only trying to fulfill God's will. And since our spirits become prosperous and our bodies too eventually become prosperous, right? And Sunstein said, yeah, eventually, meaning Sunstein in the past was so poor. When he began this ministry, it wasn't like he was rich right away. It took time. He was miserable in a physical sense, but spiritually had abundance. And that's kind of what we have to realize too, is we can't be putting too much onto the physical. It's not saying the physical doesn't matter and the physical is not important. No, it is. But we have to understand this really well. The spirit, the inside, the grain is is the most important thing, that even if the outer husk and the chaff is huge, it's actually insignificant. What matters is the inside grain. If you take care of your spirit, then in the end, both your body and spirit will grow, and the body and spirit will be amazing. Sometimes then talked about the media, right? It's like he's like, hey, come on, people don't speak well of me. They talk about something bad in the media. However, on the outside, people are saying this, but on the inside, he's the grain of faith, right? And he's like, yeah, when you look at all the religions in the world, they're all husk faith. They're all husk faith. The only faith that is not husk faith is the one that's made by God, which is the Old Testament, New Testament, complete Testament. Everything else outside that is husk religions. It's all husk religions. Like Sunseem is very extreme. He's like, you know what? I cut off everything physical and only done the work of the Spirit from the very beginning. Physical skills. Everything's natural. Live for the Spirit. And he's fulfilling God's will, as you see. Right? We know that's the way he lives. Look at where he is right now and how he's living his life. It's absolutely focused on God's will. There's nothing else but God's will. All he does is the one that God sends. All he does is carries out the history of salvation. That's it. And we have to be those that realize that this is what Sunseem was, the man of mission. He's got his mission. That's the only thing he has in his mind. It's the thing that keeps him going too. God gives him power and strength, but it is the mission that he's been given. Powerful mission, right? And that mission and that responsibility for that mission is what keeps him moving forward. Only the religion that carries out God's will, it'll be the only one that remains. So we have to realize that, we're living in this history, the great history, the 1,000-year wedding banquet. And, because it's God's will, look how successful we are too. Why? Because it's God's will. Sunseem said this. He says, everything is about just loving God, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Son, and Jesus. That's everything. And then he says, my mission is to be a bridge that sends lives to God. And as the mediator, I, Sunseem, have evangelized lives, told them to believe in God, and sent them before God and continue to take care of them. Right? When I deliver the word so that you will believe in God, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Son, and Jesus, you will believe in that word only if you absolutely believe in me. That is why I say believe in me absolutely. It's like, yeah, spiritual fruit, spiritual stuff is hard to notice and takes time before you finally notice, right? And we have to recognize that also, is that just because it's spiritual and you're doing the right thing doesn't mean it's going to get noticed from the very beginning. Spiritual things are invisible. It takes time for them to gain fruition or for them to actually be seen. So, we're in the place where Providence is going to thrive, just taking some time, step by step. If you think about it, for 50 years, we're already in that position where we're this big after 50 years. It's incredible. It really is. So we're living in the grain. We're teaching and acting on the eternal word. And when God's time comes, the truth is going to shine even more, right? We're not going to be fooled by the literal interpretations of the Bible. We've already seen it so much even now. Actually, there's one part here I was wondering. When Sunseem was talking about idol worshiping, I think. Was it idol worshiping? What was he talking about? Shamanism? And he's like, it was already in the news. I don't even know what he's like. There's one part he says, you guys already know what happened. It's in the news. I'm like, I don't know what it actually was. Right? And he says, oh, you guys, some of you have already seen it. I'm not sure what that is. If anyone knows what that is, like there was probably some type of judgment that actually happened recently. Like I'm not sure exactly what that was. Oh, this part was really cool. It says, Son seems like, I urge you to ask God about which path you should take in your life. Right? I didn't know, right? Ask God which path you should take in your life. If you ask those who lead people with shamanism or demons, then lying spirits enter them, tempt you, and cause you to fall into death. Ask God, right? Ask God. That's what we have to do. What is our path? We have to ask God. So we always do things after asking God. Whatever you do, if you believe it, it becomes faith. So we have to believe in the right thing, right? We have to believe in the right thing. So, it was a huge testament to where we were. And for me, it was just interesting because this is when Massimo came actually to his first Sunday service in Providence. He's been to a Wednesday service, but not a Sunday service. So very, very powerful message. And what was there was like the final words of the day also. It says, you need to acquire skills. The more skills you acquire, the easier your life is. Right? If you know it's easy. If you don't know it's difficult, you have to suffer. So small things are easy to learn and easy to do. Big things are difficult to learn and difficult to do. If you only try to do something big from the beginning, it is difficult. And if you have to study it for a long time, then you should work on the greatest work slowly, right? Nothing big is going to happen right away, and it's difficult to do. So we're doing a great work right now. We're doing it right now. So great message. What do you guys think about it? I hope you guys gained a lot from it too. That whatever mission that we've been given, there's a work that fits each and every one of us, whether it's a shovel, a pick, a knife, whether it's an axe, right? Whatever it is, that is what we've been given, and we have to live doing the things that we need to do. Not everyone's going to be a pastor. Not everyone's going to be a head leader. Not everyone's going to be headquarters. Like, not everyone's going to be in any of those positions. Not everyone's going to be like that, right? So we have to be those that understand there's a tool that we're going to be great with, or we are that tool that God needs to work on, that God needs to use. And if we do it like this is when great things will happen, right? So, let this be the time. Follow perfectly only God's perfect history, the history of the Spirit, the grain history. Amen. Great Sunday message. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or anything else or any things that you realized from it, go ahead, put it in in the comments below. We'd love to hear what your thoughts were on the Sunday message too. Either way. All right. So before we get into anything else, to the Provi and the media, let's move into the final music break of the day.
Trinity, rocks and trees with many miracles, learn and testify. Please be with us. We need you, God, as we walk this path of life. We will face hard times forever. We run with the Lord, running for this history, running for this history. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Preach and testify. Preach and testify. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Look, learn, preach the word of life. Preach and testify for this 1,000-year history.
Okay, so let's get into Provi in the media at the moment, and it's very, very interesting because I've been looking into the articles of Providence and seeing what's in the news right now, and it does seem like Providence is becoming a hot topic again because of the announcement of Netflix's season 2 that's coming out within 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. So if you think about this, because it's coming out in 3 weeks, it basically means that it's going to become a hot topic again. And if it becomes a hot topic, what does that mean? It basically means that more people are going to be searching for it. So there's 2 articles. One article was kind of rehashing like what is the history of Providence, where does Sunseam come from, the Unification Church and stuff like this. And the second thing that was quite interesting is there's another the two biggest articles right now. Number 1 is a Netflix coming out, and number 2 is kind of rehashing where Providence came from. And obviously it's because all these media outlets are preparing for Netflix season 2 to come out. So I kind of see that's why they're doing it in this way. Right. So very, very interesting. There's not a lot of things on the trial that happened last week, but yeah, that's kind of thing. The news is coming up with more things because Providence, because of the Netflix is coming out, and it's going to become a hot topic probably for a few weeks before it dies off again. Either way. So yeah, that's all it is for Provi in the media. If you have any other questions about this, please let me know. We got to start preparing even more for this, but I hope that everyone will really, really be able to pray and make sure that we can do things in the most powerful and best way to help a lot of people who might struggle from that Netflix drama also. All right. So there it is, guys. That is today's Monday podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys have an amazing and awesome beginning to the week, which also means we will see you guys once again tomorrow for Rachel and Eddie's podcast on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like